Good evening and welcome to the first edition of the program Education in Focus. This program is brought to you by the Department of Education with the aim of keeping parents, teachers and students and all stakeholders of the Education Department abreast with the latest happenings in the education sector. This evening's program covers advances made by the Department of Education, the Bougainville Education Act, Book Week and World Vision's Literacy Project for Street Children. But first, we speak to the Education Secretary, Dr Uke Kombra, on the recent advances made by the Department of Education. We find out what the department's challenges are for the delivery of this priority area, as outlined by the government in the Alatau Accord.
In July 2012, leaders of the PNG coalition government outlined their priorities in the Alatau Accord. The priorities assigned for the Department of Education included tuition-free policy, implementation of the standard-based curriculum, housing for teachers in rural areas, and work with the Sports Foundation on physical education and sports for schools. To date, the DOE has been targeting these 4 priority areas, and so far, they have made the following achievements. Since 2012, the DOE has rolled out 2.1 billion kina to schools, roughly 600 million kina a year. This is to assist schools and to progress the government's agenda to have quality education for all. Despite large hurdles of correct data from schools or timely payment of TFF to schools by and large, the DOE has been on track with dispersing funds to over 10,000 schools around the country. Achievements aside, the DOE is actively trying to work on and improve the collection of data.
We have now looking at an undertaking at the moment to review how we can validate the data very close to the source of the data. So we were looking at having district validation committees or task force. So when the schools submit the enrollment data to the districts, the district team with the inspector in charge will be able to verify the data, and then the data will then come or push through the provinces and come to the Department of Education.
The second achievement is that the DOE has successfully been able to roll out the elementary curriculum to all schools and have started rolling out training programs in provinces and districts.
In 2014 and 15, this year, we have been able to roll out the elementary curriculum to all schools with the start of training of key people in the provinces who will become provincial trainers or master trainers. We also have then gone ahead at the beginning of this year to train district trainers or cluster trainers. Roughly around 2,000 trainers have been trained at the beginning of this year. The next phase of the work in terms of teacher training is what we call going out to clusters. So clusters are smaller groups within each district where a trainer will go out to train exactly face-to-face all the teachers, elementary teachers. We hope to get the funds out for Central Province, Gulf Province and NCD within the next few weeks. So we'll commence with those 3 provinces, and thereafter when funds are becoming available through our account system, we'll be able to roll out to the other provinces. So that's on elementary. In terms of the curriculum itself, the content, we have worked on the main 4 subjects in the elementary section. That's language, English as a subject, mathematics, community and culture, and that's 4 subjects. The ones that we have already developed curriculum syllabuses and teachers' guides. We're still working towards student activity books and resource books in those elementary sections. At the same time, our curriculum officers are working very hard and around the clock to see that we also start the primary curriculum work. That will follow as soon as we complete the elementary curriculum and teacher training. So we are progressing. Not as fast as many would like to see, but we are progressing towards implementing the standard-based curriculum that we've undertaken to complete.
Another focus of the DOE is looking at introducing TVET in schools so that children can come out of the school system and have a set of skills.
We have also included now is on TVET as a priority. TVET, as you know, we have to ensure that the students that come out of the school system, or when they complete the education at each level, like primary or secondary, they have to also come out with certain skills. So we have looked at, with the support of the European Union, on how we can introduce vocational training at the schools. So already we have got a project that's already come on stream that we are progressing now to see that the students also have vocational skills in the school system when they leave schools. At the higher level, the National Education Board has already approved last month the establishment of 2 new technical colleges. These 2 technical colleges will be in Southern Highlands, actually in Nipa, and the other technical college that has been approved is in Chimbu. That will be the Don Bosco in Karawagi. So we are progressing to achieving that every province must have its own technical college, and there's been progress that we've made. We've already established in 2012 a technical college in Bougainville. So those are some of the changes that are taking place in the TVET sector.
The new Secretary for Education, Dr. Kombra, looks like a man with a thorough plan who has been instrumental in setting proper systems in place to help achieve the department's goals.
When I took office in 2015 on the 1st of June, when I was appointed to take up the position, I have issued 35 different tasks to all the divisions and directorates within the Department of Education. And I've given them until 100 days to complete all these tasks or make good progress in implementing those tasks. There are a total of 36 tasks that I gave them. So we are progressively working on those 35 tasks, which are consistent with the priorities that I've just highlighted. And amongst those, there are a few other priorities which we feel that must be implemented. So some of these priorities that we are working on towards implementing under these 100 days tasks, they include the examinations must be conducted on time. So far we have completed the grade 10 and 12 written expression examinations. They are on target, they have been completed. The grade 12 examinations were written expression exams were conducted on Monday this week. We will now work towards the objective papers, which will be around October. So that's what we are working on towards, so that the exams are on time. One of the other tasks that we are working on also is the transfer of NCD Education Services to the NCD Commission. There's been a task force that has been established that they're working on towards seeing that this is completed. The Education Act review, which has been in the media, is also one of our 100-day tasks that we'd like to see that the submission must go to Cabinet by the end of this year or early next year. So there's a task force or working team that's been working around in consultation with our key partners and stakeholders to get in the Education Act completed. Another major task that we have also undertaken to have it completed is the National Education Plan from 2015 to 2019. It has gone past a lot of the consultations and stakeholder inputs process, and we are about to complete that to go to NEC. At this point in time, we have now presented the draft or final draft to the Minister, Honorable Nikuma, and he will shortly be coming back with his comments. So based on his comments, we will do further work, and then we hope to take it to Cabinet for its endorsement. That will pave the way for how we want to see education programs and priorities implemented over the next 5 years.
The autonomous region of Bougainville has once again achieved another historical milestone with the successful launch of its own Education Act. This piece of legislation is known as the Bougainville Education Act 2013 that allows the Education Department of the autonomous Bougainville government to make a choice whether to maintain or restructure this system to suit the needs of the region's own future. Here is Fabian Haklitz with that story.
Another historical milestone and achievement for the people of the autonomous region of Bougainville is that they now have their own Education Act, the Bougainville Education Act 2013. This means that Bougainville can now develop its own education system to suit the needs of its future. This is all part of the process of drawdown of powers and functions as part of autonomy arrangements from the national government to the autonomous Bougainville government. The Independence Oval in Ara was packed to capacity as people flocked in to witness another historical event, launching of the new Bougainville Education Act 2013. Present were students and teachers from schools in the autonomous region and government representatives from the national and autonomous Bougainville governments. The Bougainville Education Act reflects commitment that provides foundation for many exciting developments to come for education in the autonomous region and brings new opportunities and challenges. This is to ensure there's continuous improvement in the quality of teaching and learning.
We know that the autonomous Bougainville government is recognizing this through its planning work which is underway. That will culminate or end in a new Bougainville education plan. Through this planning process and development of policies and practice to turn the Bougainville Education Act into action, those charged with responsibility for education in Bougainville have demonstrated outstanding leadership. Developing learners who are literate and motivated to stay in school and ensuring learners progress on to secondary and higher education and gain the skills to become economically productive individuals require good management, effective teaching and excellent leadership.
Kopi said that Bougainville's achievement of high participation rates for girls and women in some subsectors, including higher education, has shown drastic improvements important for development.
Investing in the education of women and girls has been shown internationally to deliver immense economic and social benefits. For example, a 1% increase in the number of women with secondary education is said to boost growth in annual per capita income by around 0.3%. The Australian government is honoured to support the ABG as it delivers education opportunities across Bougainville. We welcome this opportunity to partner with you as we know the major impact that education has on the lives of individuals and communities.
Bougainville Acting Education Secretary Mary Remy thanked all stakeholders involved from the national and autonomous Bougainville governments in making this act become an act.
The objectives of this act that is being launched today includes that this act now means that we have that authority to establish and implement the Bougainville education system, to regulate the administration of education services in Bougainville, as well as to promote integrity and appropriate standards in education. As I mentioned earlier, the Act was developed after consultations with people throughout the region and therefore reflects the view of our people, what it is that they would like for their children in the future. Some of them are here today to witness that. As we begin the implementation of that Act, it is for the children and those children yet to be born in the next generations that we should be now thinking of. The government, our autonomous Bougainville government, is committed and has education as a priority. Therefore, I am confident of that support for us to ensure that that Act is implemented for the betterment for our children, who will become our future leaders.
Thank you for your company. We continue with the report on the Bougainville Education Act.
Implementation of the Bougainville Education Act has begun. That was endorsed by the Bougainville Executive Council. Some of the changes are explained by the Bougainville Acting Education Secretary.
Our Act, it requires an election of the chairman of the Bougainville Education Board. That is a change from the previous arrangement, whereby today it is a secretary, previously chief executive officer would automatically be the chairperson of the Bougainville Education Board. So in one way or another, in a small way, implementations of that Act has begun. In order to fully implement that Act, hence provide the desired education for our children, there will be, and as always, with new things to be implemented, challenges ahead. But those are challenges that we in authority must make for the benefit of our children. Despite the various cultures that we have, even within our own region, education is a unifying factor. And we all need that for the new Bougainville.
Give me E-D-U-C-A, give me T-I-O-N. Education, brighten my future. Give me E-D-U-C-A, give me T-I-O-N. Education, strength for my tomorrow, true prosperity.
National Education Department Acting Secretary Dr Uke Kombra, while congratulating Bougainville for the achievement, said that the Act comes with many powers and responsibilities.
Up to this stage, we're very happy with the progress that we have made to mark this milestone. This has been indicated in a recent National Research Report by the National Research Institute that education in Bougainville has progressed well ahead of many other provinces that do not have a similar experience as Bougainville. So with the launching of the law itself, we believe that Bougainville will make big strides in education. This literally means that you will have your powers to decide what kind of school system you would like to have. In the current system in Papua New Guinea, we, for example, have elementary schools, primary schools, secondary school, vocational centers, technical college. That's what we have in our Papua New Guinea education system. With the passing of the law, you will now have power to decide if that system you will maintain or restructure. That's what it means. in terms of a school system. It also means the kind of curriculum that you would like to have. It also determines where you want to set up the schools, what kind of teachers you want to have, what type of terms and conditions you want to have for the teachers. So it comes with a lot of powers, but also comes with a lot of responsibilities.
The autonomous Bougainville government has taken some very key decisions in the act designed in the Bougainville way, making education free and compulsory, developing new curriculum.
Let us all work together in implementing and realizing the educational aspirations of our people as expressed in this act.
Students of Bairimi Primary School then brought the act forward, signified in the traditional ritual. The act was then received and launched by both education ministers, ABG's Thomas Pataku and national government's Nikuman.
The Education Act of 2013 for the Autonomous Region of Bougainville.
Creating our future today. Hey, 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 come and once we're on our way.
It's a commendable achievement in the education sector with a drawdown of 101 powers and functions that will benefit 665 schools in the autonomous region of Bougainville. National Education Minister Nikuman said Bougainville has made a huge improvement in education and comparatively better than many provinces.
And the Secretary for Education alluded earlier with a NARI report. Bougainville produced some of the best brains in Papua New Guinea before independence and immediately after independence of Papua New Guinea. And they continue to provide and support the development of Papua New Guinea. And therefore, it is important, after the national government and the people of Bougainville go through a reconciliation process, it is important for the government to decentralize some of the core functions into the autonomous region of Bougainville. And education is a very key government social sector that it must come to autonomous region of Bougainville. And now you got the Education Act for Bougainville.
According to Mr. Kuman, the national government will continue to support the autonomous Bougainville government to fully implement this new act, the Bougainville Education Act 2013, to better education in Bougainville and make it a model for Papua New Guinea.
You're watching Education in Focus. The first week of August marked the National Book Week around Papua New Guinea. The aim of commemorating Book Week is to instill within children the habit of reading a book so as to enhance their communication skills and vocabulary. Here's a report by Colleen Barrelay on literacy in the Morobe province and how the National Book Week was commemorated in Lae.
In the mid-1990s and early 2000, the government introduced education reforms in elementary, primary and high schools to allow more children to go to school. But these education reforms brought with it the challenges. It fueled a growing decline in the standard of education in Papua New Guinea. Now, according to the National Research Institute, for about 14 years, the PNG education system went through a series of numerous education reforms. One such is the outcome-based education system implemented in 2001. The reform introduced new policies where students go through grade 6 without sitting for a national exam to screen out the less competitive. During the years of this education reform, students have had difficulties in understanding basic comprehension, reading and writing. And in recent years, the accumulated results of this education system in Papua New Guinea were nothing more than impressive. During the celebration of this year's Book Week in Leh, brought to light the importance of literacy and the role it plays in disseminating information. According to Morobe Provincial Education Advisor Keith Jiram, literacy among students in the province have dropped significantly. He said poor literacy level has been one contributing factor towards students missing out on being selected to both secondary schools and higher institutions.
The rate is not pleasing. It's not pleasing, so I think what we are doing now is we're taking the positive step to help improve students' learning.
This has prompted the Provincial Education Department to introduce strategic measures to cut down the ever-growing illiteracy rate in the province. The Morobe Provincial Education is planning to establish a public library to attract more students to read, as a key component in addressing PNG's high illiteracy rates. It also has plans in place for the construction of a 4-story building that will house public library and archives for students and the public in Morobe.
We believe that will enhance, boost students' learning to active, raise the bar of students' learning and the literacy rate as well.
During the occasion, Director General for the National Library and Archives, Kakaito Kasi, presented reading books to 16 schools in the province to enhance students' reading. Its total costs 148,000 kina.
Library is actually it is a support service to what the education system is delivering. In the education system, we have the schools, we have classrooms, teachers, and library services is one of the functions that we support the education department to deliver these services to all the children.
On numerous occasions, education officials in the country continue to make calls to the government to spend more on the education sector with the aim of improving literacy levels in the country.
The stories of our lives in prison.
At the other end of Leh City, at the Buimo Correctional Service, the jail runs an adult literacy program for the inmates. It is part of the prison's rehabilitation program that aims to teach adult prisoners on how to read and write. And until recently, the inmates launched their book for the first time with assistance from the UPNG Literature Department. The book was a collection of work written by inmates over the last 5 years through the adult literacy program.
Part of what we did is basically along the lines of rehabilitation programs that the CIS has. So we try to achieve rehabilitation through imparting knowledge and skills.
Literacy professionals from the University of Papua New Guinea said to improve the literacy level, it requires both the students and their teachers' collaborative efforts.
Because reading is a process, it's a skill on its own, and teachers will have to be trained to do it. That's not how to start, so you can't blame our kids. To start with, we need to train the teachers to really do this thing properly for them. I was with the World Bank doing assessment of really great reading. Reading we've seen in schools, nothing much happens in schools.
Like the adult literacy program at the Buimo jail, knowledge about reading and writing is determined through the amount of time one puts towards reading and writing.
But you give them little courses where it helps them to edit their own books, edit their own stories, and then write a story.
The results achieved through this adult literacy program are positive and is one that has achieved significant results for adult inmates. Correctional Services Commissioner Michael Waipo has also called for more literacy programs to be introduced in PNG's correctional service institutes.
Rehabilitation, in that sense, at this level now, they'll be able to go back, transform individuals going back to society, having picked up newfound knowledge, employable skills, education, and a lot.
As the literacy levels in the country are declining, education officials say libraries are mechanisms considered to minimize PNG's high illiteracy rate. But as reading materials may be made available, the demand for trained teachers who are expected to shape young minds on how to read and write will still linger.
Outdoor activities and play is essential to the social, emotional, cognitive, and physical well-being of children. Outdoor activities help children learn to cooperate, overcome challenges, and negotiate with others. Playing also allows children to be creative. The Koyari Park Adventist Primary School recently inaugurated their new playground on the 4th of August. Present at the inauguration was Dr. Apellis from the Department of Education, who spoke of how the department's new curriculum would involve strategies that will create a fun learning environment for children.
Koyari Park Adventist Primary School inaugurated their new playground on the 4th of this month.
A big hand, ladies and gentlemen.
Present at the event were Dr. Uke Kombra and Pacific Adventist University Vice Chancellor Professor Ben Thomas, amongst other dignitaries. Playgrounds and extracurricular activities play a very important role in the holistic development of children and should ideally be part and parcel of a curriculum. A playground is a place where children learn to communicate, share and collaborate with their peers, face social and physical challenges, and use their creative imagination by developing new games and rules based on their own ideas.
Firstly, a playground is a place where children develop social skills. It's a place where they learn how to communicate. It's a place where they learn how to share. A place where they learn how to collaborate. And it's also a place where they learn how to empathise when somebody hurts themselves. Some very critical social skills are learnt in a playground. So point number 1 was social skills. Point number 2, a playground is a place where children learn imagination and creativity. Children develop their own games in a playground. I'm sure you've all seen this. Leave children to a playground for a day. By the end of the day, they've developed some game that they're playing with new rules and completely illogical to us. We don't understand why, but they've created their own rules themselves.
The children displayed the beautiness of Papua New Guinea.
Speaking during the opening of the playground at Koyari Park Adventist School, Apellis says the Education Department is now looking to set standards with the new standard-based curriculum. The new curriculum will involve strategies that will create a fun learning environment for students.
The initiative will be a requirement as part of the basic education system, where all the schools will have to put some emphasis on playful curriculum. Most of the time we teach in the classroom and we neglect this component of educating the children. That is, have the children to go out during recess and lunchtime and enjoy themselves. So it's what we call a playful curriculum in elementary and primary is the way forward for us. So the students will always look forward to go to schools because of such environment. Yeah. So this is good. It's a model situation for all the schools in Papua New Guinea.
This school was the first to establish a playground to engage students' engagement during lunch and recess. Eliakim says the department will push for all public schools around the country to have playgrounds. Good luck with that. This initiative is one strategy the Department of Education plans to incorporate into the new curriculum to engage students and to improve literacy and numeracy outside of the classroom. While speaking about improving literacy and numeracy skills in students, the Education in Focus team sought an explanation from Dr. Apelis on a Pacific benchmarking education results report that shows PNG needs to improve its literacy and numeracy standards. The same criteria was used in evaluating PNG, Solomon Islands and Samoa literacy and numeracy results, and the report has placed PNG below both Samoa and Solomon Islands. The report, which was funded by USAID and UNICEF, calls for immediate improvement in education standards here in PNG. Dr. Eliakim Apelis accepted the report and says strategies are being developed to improve standards.
This is a project funded by USAID and by New Zealand, by UNICEF, various donors. In the Pacific Islands Literacy and Numeracy Assessment, we use the same tool to assess literacy levels and numeracy levels in the three countries. We found out that Papua New Guinea is not doing well in literacy and numeracy, in whichever grade we are assessing. From that assessment, then we develop interventions on how we can improve literacy and numeracy in Papua New Guinea. So in that Pacific Islands Literacy and Numeracy Assessment, we benchmark PNG against the other two countries. Eventually that will be the benchmark for the Pacific countries.
Thank you for staying with us. You're watching Education in Focus. In our final segment, we take a look at how development partners of the Department of Education assist in starting programs that will help underprivileged children.
In Papua New Guinea provide a loving and caring environment for children to grow and develop. However, not all children are fortunate, and there are some who are neglected by their families and deprived of a good upbringing. Often parents or caregivers cannot find work, so they ignore the children, leaving their child to run wild. Some children return home at night, but for many, home is the street. Fortunately, some organizations such as World Vision have started programs to help support these underprivileged children.
World Vision PNG can be identified by the 3 C's. Firstly, we are community-based. Our officers work face-to-face with people in the community. Secondly, we are child-focused. And finally, we're a Christian organization. We operate and work on Christian principles in the delivery of our services and in our operations. And the Children in Street Situations project, it falls under the Port Moresby Urban Integrated Area Program, in which we have projects that deal with HIV and AIDS, also with mother and child nutrition. We have a gender project as well. An education project, particularly with early childhood learning, and of course the Children in Street Situations project, in which I'm a part of.
World Vision's projects involve work with men and women to help improve their literacy skills. The program also provides opportunities for vulnerable girls and boys to develop basic literacy, numeracy, and life skills to set them up for primary school. With the recent Lookout in Pikinini Act that was passed in Parliament on the 29th of May this year, World Vision NCDC Urban Children's Empowerment Program, together with Community Children's Education Project and Lookout in Pikinini Office, have partnered to address the issue of street children.
In 2012, there was a rapid assessment done by a program quality team when they noticed that the number of children living and working on the streets has increased unlike before. For most city residents who lived in mostly for a long time, you would notice that when you move around in the main centers. Then from there, they got the results and they developed the Children in Street Situations project, along with other partners who are faith-based, even local, and the relevant government department, Lookout in Pikinini Office, and NCD Welfare as well. So all these partners came together with World Vision to create and develop this project. So this project is shared with our partners. From what we identified in our baseline survey is that the majority of these children, they come from the mostly South Electorate, especially in the communities of Talai, Rabe, Guinea, and Gorobe. There are other children from other centers as well, but the number is not as high as from the south. That's why the project has focused to work in that area. And most of these children have come out due to negligence being the main reason. And when I say negligence, just to make it clear to the viewers, it means that these children do have parents or caregivers, but it's the lack of responsibility, okay, showing no love, care, and supervision for our child. That's what we mean by negligence. Apart from physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse done in the home that pushes them out, and also peer influence as well, that cause them to live and work in groups outside of the family home.
Negligence is a major contributing factor causing children to live on streets. It is the failure of a child's parents or guardians to meet the child's physical, emotional, educational, or medical needs. Various forms of child neglect include ignorance, insult, or threatening the child with violence, not providing the child with a safe environment and adult emotional support, and showing reckless disregard for the child's well-being. Children in Street Situation Project Coordinator for World Vision, Zora Pilio, emphasized on the situations in homes causing the child to be on the streets.
Ideally, it's mainly the family home. It's how the parents or the caregivers or extended families in which the child lives with, it's how they treat that child, how they show love, care, concern, and provide for the child. When those things are absent, that's what causes the child to leave the house. And they look for that in the streets of Port Moresby, but in the streets, that's where they are further exposed to other means of violence, whether it's by their own peers or whether it's with the police, or there are other things that they're not aware of that they're exposed to as well. So mainly it's the situation that pushes a child out of his or her family.
World Vision Children in Street Situation Project, together with Early Childhood Development Project and other projects within the program, works closely with the communities, especially with the community leaders when carrying out their respective projects. NCD World Vision Early Childhood Development Project Coordinator Daniel Olan said that the project focuses on children aged 4 to 6 who are orphans or coming from a family facing financial hardships. This is done through the help of community leaders in identifying the type of family and child.
More importantly, we work with the communities. All our projects, we have community, we call them resource people. So in education, we have all the committees established within those target sites. So they identify those families who can't afford the school fees, or the children, maybe orphans, parents died because of some reasons, or parents divorced and children with uncles and aunties, those kind of things. Those committees help us identify those people who are already in need. And also we can see physically when we go around, we can also see. And then we use some of our criteria that we go and ask those questions to our father, is your father working or mother working, all this kind of things. So we do criteria check. And then when we see that they are most in need, we support them or enroll them into our little learning centers. But so work starting, so we hope to see more children, and we want to expand more into those communities with more support in terms of learning materials, building materials, building up, setting up learning centers.
Learning centers are set up within the communities, making it accessible and free for the children to be taught at early childhood daycare centers, where development, learning and phonics for children ages 4 to 6 years is taught.
The age groups that we work with, in Mosby we are working in 4 target group areas. In one of our target sites is 8 months, 8 years, 9 months Makana Morobe, and Segani Ranguring in Koni, somewhere down there. We only work with those children who are parents that cannot afford, and they are roaming around within the community. So the number of age groups we are targeting now and who are in the class is around 4, mainly 4 to 6 years. We used to work in partnership with Book Belong Beginning Libraries. In 2011, the project started. The project name was originally was Port Moresby Community Children's Education Project. We worked in partnership with Book Belong Beginning. They provided the teachers, learning materials. We provided the building or space. So teachers teach them basics, the holistic approach of early childhood care and development and learning. So some of the things that they teach the students are jolly phonics, those that will be understood by a 4 to 6 years old. Yeah, not necessarily A to Z and everything else, but mostly help them to read and understand or comprehend, and basic mathematics for a student.
All children have the right to be raised in a family and to have access to quality health care, good nutrition, education, play and protection from harm, abuse and discrimination. Children have the right to grow up in an environment in which they are unable to reach their full potential in life. It is the duty of parents, other caregivers and family members, communities, civil society and governments to ensure that these rights are respected, protected and fulfilled.
I'd like to use this opportunity to appeal to all our parents, caretakers, stepmothers, stepfathers, aunties, uncles or grandparents who are looking after children, whether it's their biological step, adopted, or even a neighbor's child that they've taken under their care, to please look after these children with love and care, because the negative words, actions and treatment that we give to them will cause them to go out onto the streets, and in turn that causes social disorder in the community, and it'll come back to affect us and other members of the community. So I think my biggest appeal to everyone is to have love, care and supervision over our children and to keep them safe in our family homes.
And that's all we have this month on Education in Focus. If you wish to watch this episode again, you can log on to our website www.mtv.com.pg. For any comments, suggestions or queries, feel free to post on our Facebook page or email us on the address now showing on your screen. Until then, on behalf of the Education in Focus team, good night and enjoy the rest of your viewing on your #1 station, MTV.